Hello, created this very simple Loom demonstration on the stuff that I've built. Basically, this is like one of the latest app portfolio I have basically whereby I was basically building a very simple app that consolidates different app or different data sources, and gathering it, and then put it under one data warehouse, and then that from that data warehouse would then serve that, we do the extract, transform, and loading back to the visualization, in the form of dashboard and stuff like that. And so I'm just gonna do a quick run through. Like, what are you seeing here is basically this is basically the functionality of connecting. Like, for example, normally the normal routes would be like, for example, for agencies. Normally, what we will do is when we have clients, when we want to handle Facebook, Google, LinkedIn ads, we're gonna ask them for permissions, right, in order to see their data. But then here, we don't really have to do that because, when you click connect, what's going to happen is I'm using different tools here. Like there's many different ways we can do it. We can interact directly with the Ads API way to kind of connect and ask permission from the ad account owners to share their ad account data with us, or we can use tools like Fivetran or what is it called, Stitch. So pretty much this is pretty much what this whole page is all about. This is all about fetching data from the ad account owners, so that it is then visible in our app. The data is visible. So once that's done, this is where the dashboard comes in. The dashboard comes in is where, once the ad account owners decided to share their account details, then it's going to be displayed on the dashboard, and then they can like see what's going on. Um, you know, like a multifaceted, different, multi mix of their advertising channels that they use in one go. So this is really going to be useful if they just want to see stuff like what's going on. Like, okay, like CPC on Facebook ads is performing at around 4.6, and then here you can see CPC on Google Ads is like 168. Like, what's going on over here, stuff like that. So this is going to be a good overview for the ad account owners to see what's going on. um, and then this is where it gets more powerful, where this is where I actually leverage different ad data sources, anonymous ad database, and to kind of link it back to this tool, this app that I built. And basically, it's going to give you two different lines here. So this red line represents the ad account owner, the one that shares the data just now. Um, and then what is it called again? And then the blue line is representing the the database, right? So the database represents the market benchmark, and this can allow basically ad account owner or your client, your agency client, to kind of see, hey, how am I performing? Like, how am I performing? Am I performing good? Like, compared to benchmark average? Oh, okay. So apparently you are performing at the $75 cost per mil, cost per impression as compared to benchmark. So this means that we're doing good. We're doing really good as an agency. We are doing pretty well, and this also allows us to kind of experiment more because with more cost per impression, that would leverage. That would give us some leverage to kind of expand further. Do more experimentation of the campaigns. Then the predict functions, right? The predict function is where, um, you know, this is where basically we can try to predict what's going to happen in the next 6 months or 1 year, right, with the client. Like, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? It's really useful for a lot of different things. One is we can kind of see if this is a good client, a good client to work with. Like, with their data that they shared, we can use this to analyze or pre-analyze whether it's an agency client like worth pursuing. With this, we're using different machine learning models here to tell us if it's a good trend or a bad trend. And if it's some trend that has a potential for us to like work with the client, then we can try to improvise this trend. But if it looks really bad, then we can, like, let's say, oh, okay, like we can skip the client and move on to the next. Or we can also put it this way, like that's one scenario. Second scenario is that we can tell the client, like, 1 year from now, if you don't implement whatever that we've taught you, like, we've told you, you're gonna suffer like a terrible CPC or a terrible click rate. We're gonna do something about that. So how about let's try the 5 strategies that I just laid out earlier, and then let's see what happens, and whether there's the ML later on. We can punch the connect button again, reshare the latest data, and then see what's going to happen to the prediction. Is it going to be better or worse? So, this is another way to put it. So, yeah, so that's pretty much an overview of what my analytics app all about. And pretty much this app is basically built on Django and Python. Basically, this was pretty much, I think, when I first started this project, it was um, literally SQL, in Jupyter Notebook, like SQL in Postgres, and then a little bit of Python in Jupyter Notebook. So it was a combination of that, and then suddenly it became bigger, and I started using a lot of stuff. You can see here, I was mainly using pandas before then, and some matplotlib stuff, and then and then suddenly it becomes bigger. Where I'm using a lot of different libraries, to do the connect feature, the connect function, which is again leveraging um, tools like a Stitch, or Fivetran, or it can be any API. This is why I think is wonderful, because it depends on which is our preference, or we can even, like, I can even code so that we can skip them and we deal directly with the ad account owners, sorry, the ad platform owners. The only caveat I see there is that, um, if we deal directly with different um, ad platforms, there's going to be different regulations and everything that we need to go through. There's an app review process and a lot of that. So, which is why, is either we can go that route, or we can actually use like the already existing tools like Stitch or Fivetran, or some other tools, Supermetrics, or those kind of tools. So the only difference is that here is that everything is operating under one platform, and it's not like outside. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what I wanted to show. And then I think the one thing I wanted to share as well is that, this is the architecture and design of what's behind it. So as I mentioned just now, using Google Ads API, and then use Fivetran, and then it looks in Heroku, Postgres, Python, Django, white noise on infrastructure, and output in HTML, JavaScript, and Bootstrap. Now, bear in mind that this also can be changed, not only to HTML format, but it can also be changed into the form of React or Next.js, whereby there have been some agencies that asked me to help and make sure that the Heroku or Django is turned into a microservice, so that I can then serve the data in API endpoints, and then React and Next.js can then pick it up and then display it in the form of Apex charts, or charts.js, or whatever, together with Next.js. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hopefully that explains. Yeah, and hoping to hear from you guys. All right, take care.